Thank you all for being here. As I'm sure most of you are aware, Read Live includes 4 programs. We have Read Naturally Live, Word Warm-Ups Live, 1 Minute Reader Live, and Read Naturally Live Espanol. Read Naturally Live is that flagship intervention, 1st through 8th grade reading level with focuses on fluency, phonics, comprehension, vocabulary, and spelling. Word Warm-Ups Live is our phonics and decoding program that also has support for fluency, spelling, and phonemic awareness. Our 1 Minute Reader Live is that independent reading program. So it is not an intervention. It can be used with large groups of students and only one teacher, no teacher at all. It goes from 1st through mid 5th grade level. And then we have Read Naturally Live Espanol, which is the same as Read Naturally Live. Today, we're going to be talking about getting back to school with Read Live. So we're going to start with some information regarding optimizing your staff member module. Some sorting and filtering, updating account information. Those are often things that are either good to know or need to happen at the start of the school year. Next, we'll get into a little bit of information about account maintenance. Then we'll talk about licenses and lead teachers. And finally, we'll talk about some additional teacher tools, including single sign-on, importing, distance learning, and training. So now I will go into our demonstration within the program, and I will pull up my Read Live account and log in as a staff member. When I'm logged in, of course, I will go to my home page, and there I can see a number of different tiles that are presented for me. Notice that each tile has the bullets underneath it, letting you know what you can do within that tile. And then we also have the navigation button up in the left-hand corner. So I just want to demonstrate some sorting and filtering. This is especially helpful for people who have large accounts. So if I begin by going under the staff member administration, for example, if you are interested in organizing your lists, maybe by school, you can do that by sorting. And sorting is as simple as clicking on the name of a header. So we have the top bar that lists the different headers for the various columns. If I click on the word school, for example, it will organize them alphabetically, ascending. I can also do it descending if I choose to. If this is still not enough for as far as organization is concerned, and I want to limit my list to only specific people, meaning I want to remove maybe everyone except teachers at Jeff Washington Elementary, I will click on the 3 horizontal bars and enter the first few letters in a name of a school and click apply. And now I can see only the staff members that are at Washington. I know there's a filter on the school column because there's this little picture of a funnel up there. So in order to see the rest of the staff members, I can click again on that horizontal 3 horizontal bars and click reset, and all of the teachers will come back on my list. So the next thing I want to mention has to do with updating account information. Now, only account administrators can update basic information for the account. So I'm going to click on my navigation bar and select the item account and school administration. Notice your account ID numbers in the upper left-hand corner, as is the total number of licenses in your account and the number that are available. In case you're not familiar, we do have additional information on various places throughout the staff and student module. It's indicated with a circular blue circle with the letter I in it. When you click on that button, you can have additional information provided to you. If you want to add a school, for example, let's say a new school in your district is going to be using Read Live, you can come in here and add new school. You then need to make a decision about how you're going to organize those licenses for that school. So schools can use any available license, that option would enable schools to use any license in the account that is not either already reserved for a different school or in use by a student or assigned to a student. And that's just on a first come, first served basis. Okay, so that's one option. The other option is to reserve exactly the number of licenses that are assigned to that school. And so the school can use up to that specific number, but not more. But if another school is trying to get other licenses, those licenses that are assigned to that school can't be taken, even if even if a student isn't assigned to that. Now, of course, the account administrator can make changes to this. So as the school year goes, different intervention groups will grow and decrease, and you can make adjustments. If I choose for this new school, perhaps they purchased exactly 12 licenses for that school and they want to be sure they have access to them, I can enter that number and click Save and Close. And now I can see my new school is listed on my list. The 12 licenses are reserved. Take note that some schools are allowed to use any available and others have ones that are reserved. So that mixture is possible if you choose to do it that way. If you want to remove a school, perhaps the school is no longer using the program, assuming that you take the licenses away from the students there, then you can just click the delete button and remove that school from your list. And again, that is only done by the account administrator. If a change needs to happen for a given school, maybe their school name changed, maybe there's a spelling error, or maybe they just need more licenses reserved for them, you can do that by just clicking on the name of the school. It brings up the same field as when you're adding a new one, and you can make those changes and click Save and Close. So the next thing I want to talk about is student account cleanup. Right? So let's go to our navigation bar and drop down to our student administration. There is a tile called New School Year Administration. And so the account administrators can prepare for a new school year by advancing the grades of all of the students in their account. It would also remove the homerooms from all the students and the licenses and lead teachers from all the students. Only the account administrator can access this feature, and it can reset all students at the beginning of the year. So here is that button that allows that to happen. Before we talk any more about it, I want to caution you, this time of the year, some may have teachers who have already gone in and began making changes to their students from last year or their new students for this year. So please make sure that you coordinate with other staff members so students are not accidentally advanced twice by different people. Okay. So be sure to check with others to make sure they haven't gone in to do that. This is the one-click option, advancing all the grades, removing all the homeroom assignments, and then either removing the licenses and lead teachers or retaining it. Now, if you have a teacher who's already started, and that makes it so you can't do a one-click option for every single student in the account at every single school, that's fine. All of these things can be done by school and by student in different places. Okay, so we'll talk about that too. But this is that one-click option that is available to the account administrators. So now we're going to navigate back to the student administration for a moment, and I'm going to talk about student licensing. And lead teachers. So the lead teacher is assigned whenever a student is given a Read Naturally Live license, and the student's lead teacher is the staff member who makes all the decisions. So it's starting with placement of students, adjusting levels and goals, maybe changing story options, running reports, those sorts of things. So under the student licensing tile, you'll notice that you can organize and you can sort by school if you have multiple schools at your site. So we're going to go ahead and select Washington Elementary. And now I can see all of these students who are at Washington Elementary. Now, if I want to, a very common thing I would do at the start of a school year is come in here and figure out, well, which of the students at Washington currently have a license assigned to them and which ones don't. I can click, remember that sorting option, I can click on the RNL license header, and it will put all the students who do not have licenses at the top and the rest at the bottom. Okay, so this is a very nice way for me to organize who needs what. I can select one or more students and remove those licenses from those selected. When I remove a license, the lead teacher also drops off. Now, doing this allows that student then to be picked up by a different lead teacher. Okay, so if a lead teacher can remove the license from her students, and that would allow a different lead teacher to pick that student up and assign a license and assign themselves. The account administrator can also do that. You can also change the lead teacher for selected, meaning you're going to allow those students to keep their license, but instead of having Heather Frillman as their teacher, now those students are going to have Claire Hayes as their teacher. Okay, so that change can be made for one student or groups of students at the same time. Now I want to mention something briefly about our staff member administration. So I'm going to go up one notch to staff member because another common thing that happens at the beginning of the school year, and probably before you start worrying about students, is you have to worry about staff. So sometimes you'll have staff who no longer are going to use the program, or maybe they're not at your school, or they've just been assigned a different task and they're not going to be working in Read Live. You can select that student, and assuming they don't have students, you can just delete that selected staff member and click yes. That staff member is then no longer here. If you want to add a new one, of course, there's just one other button. So you can click add staff member and add that new staff member into the account. One thing you need to decide is the role that you're going to assign. We have this table listed out here for you that provides a lot of that information. If you want additional information, clicking on learn more about roles will provide you with more information about which role has which permissions. When you select the role to give a teacher, you then need to assign them a school, enter their account information, and take note that the user ID was automatically filled in based on the first and last name of the staff member. I can override this. So if your school or district has a system that you like to keep uniform, that's just fine. Go ahead and override it. If you don't, this one is done for you. You can click save and close or save and add another. Now, when you may notice this button about teams, we do have a team feature. Account administrators, school coordinators don't need to be added to a team because they can access students and data on all the students for a school coordinator within their school and an account administrator within the entire account. However, teachers, paras, and maybe classroom teachers and special education teachers, they may be a small group of teachers who want to have access to a student's data. And so the team feature allows that to happen. And both the account administrator can create teams and individual teachers can add their colleagues to their team as well. The other things that need to be done in here, or are commonly talked about, of course, is this final column over here, the reset password. So if you have teachers coming to you saying, I haven't a clue what my account ID number is, I don't know my password, can you help me? If you click the reset password by their name under the staff button within the staff module, that will send them an email that will give them the information they need. So when you do that, be sure to let them know it has been sent, because it does come from the Read Live system, and those emails may end up getting stuck in a junk mailbox. So letting them know to check in there is a wise thing to do. The other thing that may happen throughout the school year is that accounts get locked. So this column that's called unlock user ID, notice that all the unlock buttons are disabled because none of my staff members are locked out of their accounts right now. Okay. If one was, the button would be black and I'd be able to click on it. My little hand would appear and I could just click unlock and it would unlock the account. So this happens if a teacher tries to log in too many times and doesn't, and too many failed attempts. It can also happen if a student tries to log in as a teacher too many times. But know that it only lasts for 30 minutes. So if your teacher emails you early in the morning and you don't see it till the afternoon, they have gotten back in. We just lock it for 30 minutes and then they can come back in. All right, so now we're going to navigate once again, this time back to that student administration. And I just want to talk with you about single sign-on for a moment. We do have some single sign-on options and different providers. If you'll notice, we have a drop-down menu next to single sign-on provider that has 3 different options. If you select one, you're provided with the information for the authentication process for that provider. Notice on the lower part of that information, there is a blue hyperlink. If I click on that link, a new tab opens. Okay, so I have not logged out of my Read Live account. I'm still in here. See, I'm still there right where I left off, but a new tab opens that provides me with the instructions about this specific align with the specific single sign-on provider. So if I were to then choose Google Classroom, notice that there's a change because of course the process is different and there's a different link to another document with steps for that. Okay. Now, if you hope to use single sign-on and you want support, we have wonderful support for that. And right now I'm going to put in your chat box a link to personalized SSO setup meetings. Michelle, who's going to be talking in just a moment about importing, Michelle is an expert in importing as well as SSO, and she is a great resource. So there is a link to a personalized setup meeting in your chat box, and you can try to get in touch with her, and the two of you can meet and she can help you work through all of the questions you may have. We also do have an option for personalized setup meetings. So just because you're not using SSO doesn't mean you may not have need some support. And so there is a personalized setup meeting. You go to the link that's now in your chat box for that and just scroll all the way to the bottom. We have a few different people who can help with that, and they are experts in getting you up and running at the start of the school year. So if you want some hand holding or just have some questions that you want answered, feel free to set up a time to meet with one of our experts. All right, so now I'm going to navigate back to that student administration main page. And Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you for you to walk me through how to do a student import.
Thanks, Claire. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. One way to enroll a group of students in Read Live is to schedule an import of student data using a CSV file. A CSV file can be created from a variety of applications. One example, Microsoft Excel, probably the most common. And you can also get this data out of your student management systems. Those student management systems are able to export data that may pertain to your class list or some type of search criteria to build your import files from, but know that those are that's available as well. A couple of things to note about CSV imports is that a separate CSV file and import is required for each school in the account. So as Claire was walking through previously her demonstrations, if you have multiple schools in an account, we do require a different CSV file for each school. And I also want to note that this type of import that we're talking about right now pertains to the native login to Read Live using our web-based student login page. As Claire mentioned earlier as well, the import processes for Clever, ClassLeak, and Google single sign-on can be found under the staff module as well, student administration, and then single sign-on. Claire, if I could have you log into Read Live account 69229. And from here, we're going to demonstrate an actual import and what an actual import looks like. So if we go to student administration and then student import, another note, only account administrators and school coordinators have access to this page. And I'd want to point out where you can find detailed instructions in your own import template. So if Claire would just click on the import student data link, this provides you with all the very detailed information regarding the data that is allowed in the import, talking about case sensitivity, special characters, what can be used, what can't be used, and then how long the fields can be. So these are your detailed information. If Claire scrolls down just a little bit into page 2, there is a link to download your own template. So you could download this, save it to your desktop, wherever you want, and that's your template to get you started, okay? So let's look at what this template looks like. So Claire's opened up here a blank template. We've expanded all our fields. So these are all the fields that are in the template. You can, they're all required. So leave the column headings as they are. The only data that is required in the file is student first name, student last name, student grade, student user ID, and student password. So students need a user ID and password to log into Read Live. Okay, that's that native login to our database. So when you're creating this for that, you are creating these user IDs and passwords in this file for the students that you're adding. So use something that is known to the students, such as a student ID number, lunch number, something that's known and that they're familiar with. And also note that the password can be the same as the user ID. And this will help ease the login process for that student because they will just be entering the same thing twice. Once all your students and their data has been entered, you will save that CSV file. So we're going to transition back to Read Live. And we are going to schedule and import. So Claire, if we can click Browse. And we are going to select a file that I have created previously, and it is the import with error file. So we're just going to navigate there, open it. We'll select again the school because we can only choose one school at a time. And we're going to click next to schedule our import. Unfortunately, as things happen, we have some errors that we may need to fix in our import files. They are highlighted in yellow. If you hover your mouse over the yellow field, and it can be kind of persnickety, there comes required field is missing. Okay, so this tells us this field in our import file needs to be fixed. So we're going to cancel our import here. We're going to go back to our Excel file that we had open.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that. So if we could go to Excel. Yes, there we go. So it told us that the student password field was missing. So Claire's just going to enter a password for each of the students. And again, the passwords can be the same for every student if you want to do that. She's going to save that file again. We're going to navigate back to the Read Live application. Now we have our password field filled in. Everything looks good, and we'll click next. And proceed. The passwords. Oh, okay. So here, this is another good example. So this is the previous errors that we saw before were ones that needed to be corrected before we could proceed. Okay. These are errors that are saying, okay, something has changed for this student that's in the database already. How do you want to handle it? Do you want to import, or do you want to, do you want to update the record, or do you want to just skip it? Okay, so again, if we highlight over the yellow area, and it's persnickety. Okay, so right now it says the value for existing student in the account is Stark, S-T-A-R-K. So right now, the database says Stark, but we're going to tell it to use password. And that's fine. We've decided we want to change that password. We'll just say update existing students. You could print matching records if you wanted an error report. This would give you an error report, or click next to schedule your import. Proceed, we'll say yes. And now this has been scheduled to occur tonight. It does run overnight, and the person scheduling it in the database, in the Read Live database, will be notified by email with the confirmation. So at this point, after you have imported your students, they are now active in the database and are ready to be assigned a lead teacher and a license, as Claire had covered before. Your imports again happen overnight. If you can get them scheduled by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, they should get in that night. and that is importing student information. I want to let you know that we have really great tech support. You can reach us at support@readnaturally.com or 1-800-788-4085, option 3. And we are here Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Standard Time. I'm going to now turn it back to Claire to finish up the last couple agenda items.
Thank you, Michelle. We just have two more things to talk about quickly. One has to do with distance learning tools. So if people are in a virtual setting this year, we do have a few tools under what we call our waiting list. So when students are in the or when staff members are logged in as a staff member, they can click on this waiting list. And in here, you're provided with a list of students who are on a step where they need teacher support. So the first one listed here is working in the Read Naturally Live application. He's on this cold timing step. The next one down is working in Word Warm-Ups Live, and that student's at the past timing step. These students are not logged in currently, and I know that because their login button is clear. It's not red. If the login button is red, that means the student is currently logged in and using the program. If I click on this login button, I don't have to remember this student's user ID and password. It's just going to automatically log me in. If the student was in there, it would kick them out. But in this case, students aren't in there. When you are logging in as a student, if you are planning to do a live timing, you need to use a screen sharing program like Google Meets or Zoom so that you can do that through the screen sharing. However, we have a feature called recording. And for the past step, students can record themselves reading the story and Read Naturally Live. And then the recording will be saved and it would say yes in this column. So if I saw one of my students had the word yes in the recording column, I could log in as that student and listen to the recording as if it was the student reading live. So I would grade it that way. And then the student can pass when we are not together at the same time. So that is an option. The last thing I want to mention before we wrap up today has to do with our training options. I'm going to take you to our training page, and I'm also going to put this link in the chat box as well. Our training page includes a lot of different options for you, including, while it loads, it includes some online training courses. That's not coming up for me for some reason. It includes some online training courses, as well as recorded webinars. So if you're unable to attend webinars live, we do have many different recorded options. And then it also includes 3-part virtual seminar, which is a paid purchase. We can also do some Read Naturally Live data analysis, and we can come to your site. If you want to hire a trainer to come to your site, we can do that. But our free options include online training course. It also includes all of our recorded webinars and of course our help page. So let me bring up that help page again. And let you see that not only do we have written instructions on our help page, we have tons of videos. Look at all of these different links. They link to different short videos explaining that specific task. So it's a nice way to consume information. There's short little tidbits to work you through. The help page you can see is at the bottom here of this PowerPoint, and that is available. That will also have written instructions. So if you prefer to get your instructions that way, that is an option for you as well. So I'm going to open it up for questions now to see if we have any, but as I just want you to know we are here to support you. As I put in the chat box, our tech support email, phone number, and website are all in there. We also have links to places where you can sign up for a personalized meeting, whether it be about SSO or about just getting you're off to a good start this school year. Those are also available in your chat box. So Michelle, before I do our closing, were there any questions that came in that you noticed that we should answer before we go?
Yes, I do have one. Someone is wondering if a teacher can be assigned more than one school if their role is a teacher.
Oh, great question. So they can be assigned to all schools. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes, yep.
Yes.
They can, yes. A teacher can be assigned either one school or all schools. But the one thing I will note is if if your account is large and a teacher is assigned all schools, on their setup page, they will see all the students. However, once they are assigned their students and they become a lead teacher, when they are managing and working with those students in Read Live on the waiting list and on the Read Naturally Live page, those are only her students. She's not going to see all the students. So that is an option to use all students if a teacher is at multiple schools. Or all
Excellent.
schools, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you very much, Michelle. And thank you all for being here. We are going to sign off. We hope everyone got a lot out of the presentation. And just a reminder, we will be sending out follow-up emails with links to the recording in about 24 hours. So feel free to share that. Please respond to the survey questions that will appear on your screen after the webinar so we can improve the educational experience. Thank you so much for your participation today and enjoy the rest of your day.